Hey Creagears, and welcome to the first part of our two-parter to celebrate the anniversary of Splatoon 2 today. For this part we wanted to make a custom amiibo to complete our little collection of hero mode characters, with a redo of an Evil Callie custom amiibo. Yeah, before I started the channel I actually had already made an Evil Callie custom amiibo, but that one got lost in the mail. So, what better time to make another one? After this, we've also got a Patreon exclusive video coming out, showing them how we finished a DJ Octavio custom amiibo. And then finally, in our next YouTube video, we will finish this little anniversary two-parter with a diorama to store these two new amiibos within. But that's going to be enough talking for now, let's get started. Starting with the disassembly of the original amiibo. For our version of Evil Callie, we wanted to use this pose from the boss battle. This meant that a lot of parts needed to be removed, like her legs, both their hands, and even an arm. Luckily, one of these hands was already lost with this second hand amiibo, so we could immediately give her a new one to fix her right up. And the other one already needed to be replaced with a leftover from a Pearl custom amiibo, so this all just fit really well. We could also keep one of her shoes in place, since they do not have much difference between the right and the left one. And then we could cut up the supports for the other one for a nice repose on the base. Even the other leg worked really well on this repose, so now we only need to sculpt one more leg. But to keep the structure within these amiibos, we do need to add some metal wires between all of these seams. But in the end we did need to remove her mixed section to be able to add our own belly to have the best end result instead of adding it on top of the parts of the amiibo that would already be there. And this then also needs some more aluminium wire to get the spacing right. And this aluminium wire can then also be drilled and glued into the arm that we had cut off to make a base for the new arm. And after gluing her top half to the aluminium wire and having added the new leg, we could start to work on the epoxy clay. Having already made some progress on the base of the legs, I was free to continue with the belly next. Making sure I got a good base layer to be able to smooth it into both the hips and the chest. After I got this base down, I grabbed some more clay to be able to work on the top, doing my best to get some of the volume back that I had taken down with the removal of our Squid Sisters uniform. This then also shows why I haven't attached the tentacles yet. While having them loose, it allows me much better access to her back to be able to smooth out the clay and to make sure I can get to every nook and cranny the way I like. After working on the clay for the top and adding a seam line where the top stops and the belly starts, I could use my pointed silicone tool to make the perfect impression for the 3 markings that Callie has on her chest. After those details were added, a little ball of clay was used to smooth out her right arm with Pearl's hand, before I could start to add the clay for her new arm. Adding a snake of clay around the aluminium wire, then smoothing this out, and sculpting the elbow. With the arm made, I did want to go back to her shoulders to add the shoulder pads that DJ Octavio has presumably added to her new outfit. To be fair, it does look cool. By taking a piece of clay and pressing this into a triangle shaped longer piece, I could then press it onto her shoulders and smooth out both ends into the rest of the outfit. And with another triangle piece for the clay, I could finish the other shoulder pad. And after all of that work, I did leave some markings on the legs that I needed to smooth out. Which then also showed me some extra work I needed to do on her shorts that was still missing. But because we left a little bit of extra clay on the end of the snake, we can now press this onto the top of her head to be able to sculpt this into the hand. But first exaggerating the seam between the arm and the glove, before flattening the hand to start to cut and sculpt in the fingers. After a bit more work on her back to flatten it all into one shape, I could then finally finish our work from the bottom to the top with the application of the Octarian tentacle as our head dressing. By taking this blob of clay and shaping it into a triangle, I then stretch this triangle into a longer form before I add 3 balls of clay as the 3 little suction cups that are on the side of the headdress. After those are added and smoothed into the rest of the sculpt, I could then add it to the base of our headdress. And to finish it all off with a little bit of extra work on the straighter edges around the accessory, and by also preparing her very small tentacle earrings. Then we could finally get to the fun part, adding back her color with some painting. Starting by adding a light peachy color back as Callie's skin tone. Here we could have left her head and her right arm free of paint, but not only would this have given me another obstacle to work around, but this would have also forced me to make the color of her skin tone exactly like the raw plastic from the factory. This is why I opted to paint all of her skin again. So now we have to paint the face, the ears, the arms and the belly again. Although we did just add the belly, so that's not... Never mind. Working like this, I wish I had my custom amiibo holder prototype finished. Hopefully something I could work on this summer. After the skin tone, I could add the bright pink to the ink and the details around her outfit. Again, we could have left the ink alone, but this way we have all of the colors the same. After a little bit of test on the bigger surface of the ink to make sure we got the color exactly as we wanted, I could then start to add it to the little accessories around her outfit. Starting with the leaf on her headdress. Next we go down to her top to paint the 3 little markings. And this leads us then right into the reason why this color was next. Callie has some kind of lower layer of clothing sticking out at her hips that we also needed to paint over her skin tone. A good example of some details that don't always need to be sculpted into the figure, but ones that can also be added by painting. And finally we could use this custom color for our ink too. Although we did need 2 coats to get the nicest look for the ink. And with even her tattoo added, I could start to paint an Octarian red to the sides of the tentacle. Just a red mixed with a little bit of purple. That would be an awesome idea if we could get a sponsorship from a miniature paints company. But first we have to focus on getting the black added to Evil Callie's outfit. Starting from her left glove, which also gives me the chance to do some touch-ups on the parts of the tentacles that I had accidentally hit during priming. Then I could also work down her arm to start to paint her top. making sure not to get it on the markings on the front. But I do want to add a little extra line around her neck for the choker that she has on in her artwork. After the top, I also started to paint the other hand to be able to finish the duo. After which it's the turn for our shorts. Man, this amiibo really makes me excited to try and make the new Splatoon 3 outfits of Callie, Marie and Ancient 3, giving me more experience with working around the parts of an amiibo to leave as the original, while still giving it enough attention to make the customizations as good as possible to make it all fit into one cohesive figure. No time to think about it now, since we first have the shoes to finish. Keeping an eye on leaving the hot pink that I had already added to the heels and the soles. And lastly, off camera, I also used my smallest brush to add her eye mask back with the black. Then I used dark purple for the base of her leggings, with a lighter purple smoothed into the tops and the bottoms of her legs later on. Next we grab our trusty mummy's robes as our go-to paint for the tentacle skins. Although this time we don't need to add it to the tentacles themselves, but we use them for Callie's little headdress. With some few different tones added to the top of the tentacle. After which I could finally add the little Octo earrings that I had prepared a long time ago, using some super glue and accelerant to add these to the bottom of Callie's ears. But once started, we do better finish the addition of all of the accessories. So with this thought in mind, I also added a 2mm EVA foam version of the Hypno Shades, with a small scorer around the hinges to make for a straighter edge, and adding glue on both the tops of the ears and to Callie's nose to mount the shades onto. And finally I use a 1mm strip of EVA foam for the thickness of the belt that I added to the top of Callie's shorts. After which we can color all of these accessories black as either their official colors, like the belt and the shades, or as a base for the metallic colors, like the silver for the zipper on the back of her top, or as the little painted spikes on the belt, the choker, or the two little spots on the arms of the shades, including the one hot pink spot, or the two little oxos on Evil Callie's boots, or either as the gold of the earrings. Making sure to get the gold on all of the tentacles of the earrings, since they're so small, they're quite difficult to paint. And some stripes on the ears themselves to make it seem like they're real earrings. And finally we could add the colorful array of arrows on the Hypno Shades, starting our line with a red, then a yellow, then a green, next a light blue, followed by a normal blue, then a dark purple, followed by a hot pink, and finally a normal pink. After which we go back to the red we started with and use this pattern to fill in the rest of the Hypno Shades. At last, after all of the painting is done, we can glue the tentacles back in place. And then a risk for the whole workshop, but I added some Mod Podge to Evil Callie's legs and sprinkled on some glitter on the legs to get that galaxy effect that you can see on the 3D model. And after letting the glue dry and brushing off all of the loose glitter pieces, we can add a gloss varnish to the tentacles, the Hypno Shades, the markings and the tattoo, the ink, her glittery pants, also to lock that in place. And lastly, her headdress. And with all of that finally done, we can officially announce the Evil Callie Custom Amiibo 2.0 finished! Hey Creagears, Robert here, and we hope you enjoyed this video. It feels so good to finally have an Evil Callie custom amiibo back in our collection. I really miss this custom, but I do quite like how you can clearly see the improvements that came with 4 extra years of experience. So, what do you guys think? Shall we also do a remake of our Kimono Marie next year? Leave your answers down in the comments, since that's where we always love to hear you guys' suggestions for future projects. But we better get going again on that big diorama that's coming next.
Sure!
Yeah, that too. So, if you also want to see that as soon as it releases, you'll find the link to our Patreon down in the description. But that's going to be all from us for now. Keep those creative gears starting, and we will see you guys in our next video.